Okay, in this video we're going to go in and take a look at the interface of Report Builder 3.0, and we'll go ahead and start it. And I'm going to start it here by clicking my start icon down here, and then I can just type in Report Builder. And as you can see, it's right there. Let me exit out of that for a second. Or I can, because I've downloaded Report Builder separately and did the install, I can drill down here somewhere and find it. Yep. There's Report Builder 3.0, and we can fire it on up like that. If you notice here, it says Express. That really doesn't. I'm sorry, R2. That really doesn't matter either. Now, the first thing it opens up is this wizard. So I move this down here into the where you can see it on the screen. I'm going to close out of that, and then I'll move this down here. And here's my Report Builder 3.0 again. So now let me resize this and get it in better so you can see it. So now let's take a look at the interface down here. We open down here on the Home tab, and it's easier if I come over and show you the View tab to start with, so I can start clearing some of these things out. Now, Report Data is this section within here. And let me use one of my fancy dancy little gizmos up in here. So Report Data is actually up in here, and if I come down there and clear that on out and then come back in, now you see this Report Data option down here without the pop-up that was hiding it. All right. The ruler is right here, obviously. If I clear that out, ruler's gone. Now, here's your grouping. Grouping is going to be important later on when we're coming in and we're creating reports and we want to come down and we have a matrix up here so that we want to come in and we want to have row groups and column groups, etc. This is the design surface that I keep moving around in here, and you see it's pretty restricted, which, by the way, is one of the reasons you might want to come through and get rid of column grouping. And once you have your data source and your data sets up in there, you perhaps, and you've configured all that, you might want to clear that one out just so you have a cleaner interface. By default, these three are selected, and if I go over to properties, properties pops up, and the properties will vary depending, see, on which object that I select in here. Right now, let me close properties. The one that's a little weird is the report gallery, which is also fairly important. If I come over to the Insert tab, you see this Report Parts. If I click on that, now the Report Part Gallery opens on up, and I can go in and bring down other report parts that either I or other users have created, stored on the report server, and then I can reuse them down here, which is an excellent feature. Now, you probably wonder why they didn't set it up here, so that you have to go to a different tab over here, and you see it's closing and then it's opening. Why you have to go into a different tab? Beats me. And actually there is an excellent reason for it. It makes it much more confusing, which sometimes I think is the goal. A little frustration there. Anyway, if you want to resize the report area, you just drag her on out. See, I'm resizing this. And by the way, when I'm resizing it, you see I have to move the footer on down. And then I've got all that baloney. So let's continue through. Let's look at the Home tab. Home tab gives me Run, which will come through, and that ran. And then back over to Design. All right. As you're making changes in Report Builder, every time you make a change of any substantial, let me clear this out. Anything that you think is substantial, or if in doubt, consider it substantial, then come through and run it and go back over to Design. Life is much easier if you fix things in smaller increments. So now I'm down here in Run, and as you see, I still have these different options. Let's come back over to Design. All right. I'm sorry, I'm in Run right now. Now it's running right now. Now when I come back over to Design, I have these other options. So I could come through there and add something in. And the standard stuff, so I can go in here and select it. Come on, select. So I can go through and select it. And I can change whatever I want to do. You know, standard Word stuff, you can come in and set all that up. All right. Paragraphs, border, number, you're familiar with all that. I can merge, I can split. This is the standard document management things. And here's your clipboard, which is your standard clipboard. So you can copy things to the clipboard and then paste them on out. here's your Insert tab where you'll spend a lot of time. In the Insert tab, we create different objects. Here's my data regions, which means this object down here is going to hold data from this, from the data sets that I bring on in. So if I go down here and I pull down table, see I can either do a wizard or insert a table. If I click insert table, I can just draw it down there, and then immediately I get this pop-up, and it's asking me, because this is a data region, where is it going to get the data from? And I haven't set any of that up, so I'm going to exit on out of that. And back over to the insert. Same thing for a matrix. A list is a little different. For a list, there is no wizard. Again, the list wants to know what is the source of its data. Clear out of that. Now here's your visualizations, the chart, wizard, or insert a chart. If I go insert chart, in a year or two it'll fire on up. There we go. And then I come through and I can pick this, and we have a separate module on charts in and other cells. And gauges, same thing with gauges. So I can come down here and I can insert a gauge. And again, the gauge pops on up and I determine what kind of a gauge I want. Maps. All right, so down here I can do a map wizard or insert a map. Maps are very popular. Data bar and sparklines. Sparklines, in my view, are the greatest breakthrough in visualizations in years. And sparklines are those little bitty graphs that you've seen. Again, we'll cover that in the visualization module. Indicators are KPIs. So if I come through, I can set these indicators on up. Right, and the different symbols I have, the bidirectional, etc. Different shapes, ratings, you see, so I can come back through and I can pick these on up. Again, it's going to want to know where do we get the data from. So I'll click one out of that. Moving on across, here's your standard, look at that. Get over there. Here's your standard to add stuff, so like a text box. I can go in and I can add some kind of text. Ron, I guess I should do an ad. Atheno Group. Alright, that's the company that provided the courseware. Yay, we love them, I own it. Alright, anyway, insert. Back over an image. Alright, I'd insert a picture of me, but then you'd all exit immediately. Line. Whoop, got a line, nothing fascinating down there, and you can set the thickness of it. Wake up, wake up. Rectangle subreport's pretty cool. So I click subreport, I can add a subreport to a region. There we go. And now I can add this subreport, which we'll do when we get over into a later module. Add a header, add a footer, standard Word stuff. And I've already went through the view module. Menu item. Now here's this is the standard undo and redo. Here's my save button. And this little globby thing in the upper left is called the office button. And if I click it, up pops my office. New, open, save as, which you're used to. But here's publish report parts. If I click on that, I get this option. I can come in, I can publish all the report parts, and I'm going to come through and I'm going to say review and modify. And now here's the parts. I went in there, a group panel page, and I add these different things down here. All right, and data sets, I don't have a data set down here, but I can come through and I can edit those if I want and publish them, which we'll do in a later module. Report parts are really important. It really gets you a lot of good reuse. So let's go back over here. Now I'm going to go into options. Bring this on down. Under options, this is where you can set your default report server. Or your default. This is set up for work report server express. Right, and where I would save, my reports. I'd also, if I wanted to open a different site, I would paste it in here, or within a SharePoint site. This is where the document library would go. Right, you might want to consider that if you're integrated. I think it's a terrific way to go. And here's just your other features, and here we can clear the stuff out. You want to clear it? Yeah, it sounds fine to me. All right, and just the resources. Here's some help files. I guess I'll visit them someday. And that's your report builder interface. Now, by the way, let's watch. Go down here, and if I just exit report builder, do you want to save it? And it's going to ask me, and if I say yes, it's going to ask me for a name. And if you notice, it's pointed into that server that we saw. And I don't care about this, so I'm going to cancel on out of that and just close it and not save, and ta-da!